Harambee Stars came from behind twice to secure their first African Cup of Nations victory in 14 years. Bernard Ndong watched the 3-2 victory live at the 30th June Stadium and joins us now with a live update. Bernard, how are you? A lot of excitement back here at home. Let's begin with the mood right there at camp, the Harambee Stars. What's the mood? What are they saying after yesterday's big win? Of course, once again, back here at home, they've been trending all day. It's excitement. Of course, expectations are very high here going forward as regards what we're expecting to see. What's the mood?
Well, thank you very much, Lillian. It's important for you just to appreciate where I'm standing right now. This is the Annex facility. I don't know if you can be able to see the images in the background there. Those are the Senegalese players, the team that Kenya will be facing off in their next game. So we just came to attend their training session, and it's just concluded a few moments ago. They'll be facing off against the national football team, Harambee Stars, next week. You can see them walking away. Of course, a lot of stars in that particular squad, the Senegalese players. And they've just concluded their training session. It was about 1 hour, 30 minutes long, similar to what Harambee Stars had as well. Talking about the national football team, Harambee Stars, we'll be having the images shortly. The national football team, Harambee Stars, held a training session today at the Annex 2 facility. This is Annex 3, so Kenya is training at the Annex 2 facility, which is fascinating because it's just about 500 meters from where the Senegalese are training. And also, what is fascinating, Lilian, is that Kenya and Senegal, they are almost like 800 meters apart in terms of the accommodation that they've been given by the organizers of this tournament. So they're in quite close proximity to each other. But definitely there's obviously the key important things that need to be put in place to ensure that secrets are not traded to some extent, as that would say, because in a beautiful game there's a lot of interesting things that happen behind the scenes that most people will not know. But for the Harambee Stars, they held a training session, what we call a recovery session. 11 of the players who featured for the national team against Tanzania yesterday, of course, were rested, but they just had a very light session for the rest who were not been named in the starting lineup, just to go through their paces. Of course, others are being looked at by the team doctor to assess the extent of any injuries, if any, and just to essentially, in sports, once you've been engaged in such a very physical, demanding game, it's very important for you to do what is called recovery. So that is what has been happening as far as the Harambee Stars camp is concerned. And they held their session for about 1 hour, 20 minutes. And their opponents, as I mentioned earlier, Senegal, well, they trained for about 2 hours or so, right here where I am positioned. The focus, I can tell you for a fact, by all the journalists who are here, mostly Senegalese and foreign journalists, including myself, was observing Sadio Mane. He featured in yesterday's loss against Algeria, and he was just standing on the sidelines, just observing the training session. The head coach, of course, Cisse, was one who was running proceedings, just taking the team through their paces. They'll be facing off against Kenya on Monday in a crucial match because they want to go through to the next stage. And for Kenya, perhaps they want to be considered the underdog and maybe throw a spanner in the works for the Senegalese, the Teranga Lions, and perhaps spoil their party. Who knows? So the Senegalese and the Kenyan teams have both trained, that is official, just before their kickoff game on Monday in their third and final deciding group game at the African Cup of Nations. Lillian.
Bernard, I mean, interacting with the fans yesterday during the match, and you know, back here at home, the same level of excitement and suspense, you know, having come from, you know, Tanzania looking like they were in the lead, and then Kenya coming back at them really strong. The mood, the fans at the stadium, the Kenyan fans, and the mood, and after interacting with them, their expectations and what they were saying, what are they saying?
Well, I can tell you for a fact, Lillian, it was a carnival after that game. Before the game started, there was a lot of uncertainty on how the national football team would perform against Tanzania. As it's been called, it was the East African Derby. The rivalry between the two nations is well known, it's well documented. And once Harambee Stars were able to bounce back from a goal down and actually bounce back once again to salvage the win by 3-2, I can tell you the Kenyan camp was ecstatic. There was delirium because I was just seated behind them, and they were singing their hearts out. They were singing the national anthem, so much passion, so enthusiasm because they felt perhaps that was a much needed performance that would of course revive their hopes in the national football team. Remember the history of the national football team in this year's tournament, the build up to this year's tournament. They had a very tumultuous kind of journey, but they were able to qualify and they were able to hold their own against Tanzania. The Tanzanians are dejected, but for the Kenyans, I tell you, they partied the night away. Let's just listen in to what both sets of fans had to say after that memorable victory between the two neighbors.
Tumeona vijana wetu wamepata ile motisha, na sisi kama viongozi wa Kenya tumejitolea kukuja hapa Kenya bila malipo yoyote kukuja kushangilia timu yetu, na mmeona mashabiki wamekuja kwa wingi kabisa, na sisi tunasema kama taifa mpira Kenya umeanza kuinuka, na tunataka tuhakikishe kwamba hii African Cup of Nations tumeishinda.
Niliona kama hatutashinda, but vile imeisha nimekuwa na moral, nikaona Kenya tunaweza.
Ndugu wawili tumekutana, tumecheza mpira mzuri kabisa. Sisi kama Tanzania tumefarijika kwa mpira ambao tumecheza leo na wenzetu. Tumefanya kitu ambacho kimesisimua sana katika nchi ya watu. Matokeo ni kweli tumepoteza, lakini kikubwa ni kwamba tumeonesha mchezo mzuri na nyinyi ndugu zetu mmeshinda, basi sisi tunafurahi.
Well, Lillian, the action is still ongoing right now. Morocco are facing off against Cote d'Ivoire, and the result, I can give you an update as far as that score is concerned, is that the Moroccans are leading by a solitary goal. And later this evening, around about 2 kilometers from where I'm positioned at the Al Salam Stadium, the South Africa will be facing off against Namibia. Yesterday we had the East African Derby, and today we'll be having the South African Derby. South Africa facing off against Namibia, and the other game, of course, will be Mauritania against Angola. Lillian.